Now that all the other distractors are out of the way, now I can actually do what I came out here to do in the first place, and that's to put these Trex composite deck boards down. So right now what I have to do is cut this piece so that it goes, it's going to have to go through here and around to the inside of that post, come around, and then go up to about right here. So I need to draw my lines so that I can cut it so that it fits around this post. And then I have to do the same thing on this side, and that is to get the post or the deck board to come all the way to the baluster here, go behind the post all the way into the corner, and then continue that way. And then I'll start putting the rest of the deck boards. This one and any one of them that's near a post is going to make things a little more complicated, but especially the ones on the end of the deck. These two and those two that are down on the opposite end are going to be a little more complicated. These that are right at the top of the stairs won't be too bad. I am drawing a line all the way through, but I'll take that into account when I cut, that I have to start my cut 1.5 inches and then cut this inner piece out. This one is more difficult. Tell already that this post is slightly twisted. I do want these deck boards as tight as possible around the posts, because the bigger they get, then the more junk gets in there and then closes it up, and then what starts to happen is it sits in there and stays wet, and then you end up with wood rot. Now I'm not worried about the deck boards, but the structure that supports the deck boards. So I have to cut this piece out here, goes this way, over that way, and then across the other side. But I'm going to use the circular saw, cut it out up to there, and then I'll use the jigsaw to cut the rest of it. So I got these two cuts, and now I need to cut across here. I have the first deck board in, going around the post there and over there. So now I can, well, I'm gonna have to cut the next board as well. Yeah, that'll be fun. One down, now I gotta go to the next one. Here's what I have for securing the deck boards. So if you buy one of these, you get 90 of these. And basically these just sit between the boards. This side goes into a board, this side goes into a board, and then this and this piece will keep the appropriate gap between the boards. So there's 90 of those, and then these are end clips. They only give you 4 of them, so if you need more than that, you have to buy more, but you only get 4 of those. You do get a bit for it, because for some reason everybody's got to go to a different size, and this is probably like a T15, I believe. It just says drive bit on the box, but each one of these boxes covers 50 square feet My deck is around 94 square feet, so I need 2 of these. I did buy these Fasten Master start-stop clips, just in case. May end up just taking them back, but just in case. I did buy some of these. And then I bought 2 boxes of Trapeze 3. These are made by Fasten Master as well. And these will be for the treads on the stairs. I don't think these are going to work on the steps, so I will use those to secure them. I'm going to put 5 of these end clips along here. Hopefully I don't have to remove the balusters. Hopefully I can just take the piece of wood and then I just kind of twist it in there without damaging the clips. But I want to put 5, 1 here, 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 and there. And then do the same thing. Not the same thing. I'll use the other clips for the other side to transition to the other board that needs to go on. Go ahead and get this board out of the way so I can put my clips in. So I'll put one all the way down in the corner. Here's one. They want to slightly twist when you get to the bottom. Put 3 more of these in, and then hopefully be able to slide the board in. My end clips on. Now hopefully I can slide this board in without having to remove all these balusters. I've got the majority of them removed anyway, so there would only be like 7 or 8 more that I would have to remove. But let me see if I can get this in. Good on 3 of them and missed 2. Let's try this again. So I got 3 on this side the first time, adjusted it, and then ended up getting 3 on this side and missing 2 on this side. Alright, all 5 clips are now in. So there we go. There's the end clips in place. And this is one of the other type of end clips. Now I'm going to go ahead and put 5 of these hideaway clips. I'll put one in there and then work my way down. And I want to have these in place before I actually cut my next piece of wood, so that I don't make it too big or too small. I'm going to make it just the right size that it fits in there the way that it's supposed to, because these clips will properly gap the boards. So I got these hideaway clips on. I got them started. Each one of these joists. Now that they're started, now I can push the other piece on and tighten it down to hold the board in place. That way as I go, there aren't boards moving out of the place that are going to cause some gapping issues. The issue with these hideaway clips is that when you tighten them down, they tend to cause this end of the board to come up. It's difficult to see here. You can see what it's doing when you tighten those down. So what I'm going to do is just put 2. I'll put one here and then one down there, just to kind of keep it in this way and also hold it down. Otherwise this is going to get a little annoying, having to pushing the right side down all the time. I'm going to put another clip here, and it's really just to hold it down. These composite boards are definitely they're straight, but they can be very wavy and curved and bent. They're pretty much straight along the edges. But I mean, I guess you can say that's good that they're flexible. Here's where I'm at. I've got 4 boards in. I've got end clips down on this end, and then I've got the hideaway clips that are actually spacing the boards exactly 1/4 of an inch apart. And then what I do is I place this board in, and then what I do is I put the clips in, tighten them down partially, and then butt the next board up, and then make sure it's spaced properly and all the way against the wall down on that end. And then what I do is underneath the board I'll draw a line, and then I'll cut within on the inside of the line so that the board is flush with the outside edge of the deck. So that's what I've been doing, and just cutting these pieces around the posts consumed a lot of time. But once you get to the point where you can just put them in place, it goes pretty quick. But as soon as I get down here, I'm going to run into the same issue again, where I'm going to have to do some cuts. Here's some lessons learned for me, and I'm in no way an expert, but when you do put these hideaway clips on, you do want to make sure they sit flat like that, especially when you put them on here, because, well, one, make sure you're pushed all the way over here, butt it up, and then when you put this piece down, make sure you push the board down to make sure that this piece can lay flat, because if it's sticking up, you can see how that it changes the angle of the screw, and you want it to be nice and flat. And then when you put your screw in, kind of the same thing. When you put your screw in, you want to make sure you put it in straight up and down. And I'm not going to tighten that one all the way down until I get the next board in. See how that screw is going into the side of the board, so you don't want that to happen. Try this again. Alright, again, not tightening it all the way down yet. Here's a good way to make sure that you put your hideaway clips in properly. At least this is the way I'm doing it. So I put my clip in there, and then I take this cutoff piece that I have, and I just set it in there. Brace it. Keeps the clip nice and straight. And then you just pull it right out. Here has been my process. So what I do is lay this board, and then what I do, make sure I push it into the previous board and the hidden clip, and then push down on it, put the clip down, make sure it's flat, screw it down, but not all the way. And you don't want to screw it down all the way, because you need to be able to get your next board in. Then, once you get your next board in, and you know that it's snug, then what you can do is start putting your next row of hidden clips in. I'm trying to make sure that the edges of my boards are all cut straight, but there was an issue here where all the boards going that way were all the same length, and then for some reason this board here kind of took a twist to the outside, so it makes it stick out further. So I had to adjust the length of this one, otherwise I'm going to have a huge gap in here between the steps and the actual deck. So that gap that was there previously was non-stop, always filled with junk from people walking up and down the stairs. It would fall into that crack there. I mean, obviously I don't want to completely close it up, and I really can't either way, but I don't want to have a huge gap there like it was before. The cuts around the post are pretty good. The ones that were on there before were huge, and so every time the pine needles and everything else fall, they end up filling these gaps, and then it just sits there nice and wet, helping to expedite the rotting of the deck boards. But in this case, because they're composite, I won't have that issue. I'll just have the issue with everything else, the posts, the framing, and everything else. And that's a whole nother issue, is these balusters. They're not of the greatest quality, and most of the time when you actually buy them, they're already kind of warped. They band them up to keep them all nice and flat, but as soon as you take the banding material off, they start twisting and turning. And sometimes if you get paint on them right away, or a stain on them right away, it'll help stop all that, but not always the case. But I got a few of those I need to replace, but I'm going to paint them and then put them on. In this case, you can tell right there, they put all these on and then painted. I don't know, in some cases it's easier to just do them when they're not connected, and then other cases, well, to me it just seems like it would be a whole lot more work if you're trying to paint these after they're installed. Something I do highly recommend is if you have, in most cordless or corded drills do have torque settings, you definitely need to find out what the right torque setting is for doing this job. You could just assume that everybody would be the same, but in my case, because I have older wood, it could be softer, so I may need to go to a lower setting. And the reason why you want to adjust your torque is because if you have it in drill or a high setting, You could be just drilling these in and just basically boring a hole, and then these don't hold. The other thing is you can bust these plastic pieces or nylon pieces, whichever they are. And then the other thing is you could snap the screw, because these are very thin screws. Before I figured out what my torque setting was, I actually drilled a screw in, and surprisingly, I'm not 100% sure, but it sounded like the screw snapped. But I just left it alone. And in my case, I am using 12, which works just right. The screw stops when it needs to, and it doesn't over tighten. Here's what you do if you run into a situation like this, where you normally put your clips on and then you put your piece in, but in this case there's not enough space to pop this in. So what you have to do is take these out and then slide them in from the end where they need to go without the screws in them, and then put the screws in them. I'll take these out, mainly these two. Put the piece back in. Alright, so now that we got the piece in place, I can put these back in and screw them down.